Within the next hour, South Africa's former president is set to be grilled at a public hearing over corruption allegations.
Now, Jacob Zuma has been accused of allowing officials to plunder state resources during his time in office. Zuma has called the inquiry a political witch hunt and insists he has done nothing wrong.
CNN's Eleni Jokos is following the story live for us in Johannesburg this hour. Eleni, as Zuma makes his appearance for this inquiry, tell us more about the possible implications for his successor.
I mean, and this is really interesting. I mean, former President Jacob Zuma appearing at this inquiry. What we're expecting to see is 5 days of grilling. Now, remember, this is a man known as the Teflon president, surviving corruption scandal after corruption scandal during his 9-year term. And it's also interesting that he's the man that signed off this commission of inquiry. And finally, South Africans get to hear his side of the story. But make no mistake, it all relates to him. The witnesses that have been appearing over the past year have directly implicated the former president about the systematic looting of government resources, of money being laundered. Also important to note that all relates to a relationship that former President Jacob Zuma had with one family, the Guptas. The witnesses that we've heard from, the likes of ministers being offered bags of cash to sign off various contracts as well. And of course, Zuma now has his opportunity to talk about his side of the story. He always says that he's, pleaded innocent, that he had nothing to do with state capture, and this is all a ploy to humiliate him. But it's also important to note here that for the first time, we're going to be hearing from Zuma. His lawyers, of course, have decided to not come out with an actual statement leading up to this testimony. And also many say that he hasn't had access to any of the questions. Some say that this is going to be shooting from the hip over the next 5 days. And I mean, I must say, Georgia and Paula, I mean, this is going to be really unprecedented. We also know that a lot of supporters have gathered around the commission to hear, of course, their side of the story, and they say that they support Zuma. But also importantly, South Africans for a very long time want to know the truth and want to get the money back.
Is there any indication, Eleni, as how the former president is feeling leading up to this inquiry?
Well, this is a really good question. A day before he was meant to be appearing, I mean, today basically, he was tweeting, and I want you to take a look at this video, dancing and singing and basically making a mockery of a hashtag that was created a few years ago, Zuma must fall. Just listen in for a second. Dancing and singing. President basically either, not taking this very seriously, or basically saying he's not worried about the outcomes over the next 5 days. I mean, remember, this is a military man. He was, once, basically very low in the echelons within the ANC, and then eventually becoming president of the country. So leading up to this, I think he's feeling in high hopes. So we're waiting with bated breath to hear what he has to say.
Will he dance his way into the inquiry? We will soon see. Eleni Jokos, thank you.
Certainly going in with a lot of